Now, I have been pretty disappointed in most films this year, except for one! Shazam! Let's get into it.
Okay, so do we want to, like...
So, Shazam was fantastic. I'll just say that.
I'm trying to, think about how I want to word this, because I liked Shazam a lot.
Shazam is if you took the concept of big, and you took every superhero movie, and you took all the cheesiness of the 80s, mix it in a pot, and then you got perfection. It's right there. Now, granted, Shazam isn't a perfect film. I get that. But it's the cheesiness, the campiness, it has the heart, the action. It's everything like I wanted from a Shazam movie.
That is one of the best origin superhero films that I've seen coming out of either Marvel
I think this
or
is
DC.
one of the better origins we've gotten in a long time.
Yeah, I think it is. Just because you see just the story, how it comes about with the kid and everything, and you get the classic bullying kind of thing and blah, blah, blah. And it has, I think some of the origin of Shazam is kind of interesting because it literally is just a mix. And if you know the history behind Shazam, which I'm sure our friend Brandon over here knows all about
not enough, but I know enough. Just for the record, we will not talk about anything in the third act because there is a lot of cool twists and turns that happen throughout the movie, which I wanted but wasn't expecting to happen in this one. So this is spoiler-free. We probably won't do a spoiler cast on this right now. I'd rather wait and see the second time.
There's too much.
We're too
no
far
one's
out.
seen
It's
it.
what,
already,
2-3 weeks before the movie comes out
2
for
weeks.
everybody?
Mm-hmm.
So,
but I do agree.
Maybe then we can do it.
At least in this modern era of superhero films, since Iron Man, I would say, I honestly can't think of another one that I enjoyed.
I can't think of another one that I really compare to.
Because I don't count Black Panther and I don't count Spider-Man.
I don't either because
like,
those characters were introduced.
Yeah, but straight up, this is who Shazam is or how it all came about.
Started off
and that's what I was talking to one of my family members today just about how they didn't like Captain Marvel that much. And I said, well, if you didn't like Captain Marvel, you'll probably really like Shazam just on the contrast of... And I want this comparison really because you got both the Marvel kind of things, which I love how Captain Marvel and Shazam both came out back to back.
Right,
I
don't
love
think
that
that's
because
any
they're so
coincidence
close.
from DC or Marvel.
They're so close together.
Right, and all the history of them. So, but anyway, so Zachary Levi stole the show.
Fantastic.
He is a phenomenal superhero.
And he's not a no-namer, but he's
a B tier.
Yeah.
He's a B tier celebrity who always should have been an A tier, but because of Chuck, because of being he's entangled. Like people know him, they just don't
recognize him that well.
Yeah.
And the thing is now they will.
Yeah.
But
after this, he's going to become a household name.
All the kid actors did really, really well in it. What's the kid? The Shazam.
Billy
is
I
good.
meant the actual actor.
Oh, I don't know.
Asher
something, yeah.
Yeah, I can't. I just saw.
It'll drive me crazy.
Yesterday.
But no, him and the kid who has the crutches were both really.
I thought
good.
they did really well. Even the little girl.
Yeah, the little girl.
Darla. Yeah.
Darla's adorable.
She was awesome. But positives, I'll talk about the positives. I thought it flowed really, really well. I know Brandon said, and you haven't mentioned this in the podcast yet, but you said it was a little slow at the beginning. I didn't really think it was that slow, to be honest. And I'm always a big advocate on how slow a movie runs.
Asher Angel.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
I didn't think it was slow, but...
I think, here's my thing. So just
got a lot more ifs. I want to hear about Zach's
just to clarify the slow comment, is I think every superhero origin has the same problem.
Yeah.
None of them have ever perfected it. Strange kind of got there, but not to the extent because it rushed.
Strange went 0 to 100 real fast.
Yeah,
but my problem is you have to.
I liked it. Yeah.
You have to introduce the characters. You have to give motivation. You have to see why should you have them.
I thought they did it properly. Though.
I do like that. We spent a little too much time with the villain. That's my problem.
Yeah,
that opening was long.
It was, and then for a split second, I was like, wait. And I'm like, oh, this is the villain.
Yeah.
For about the first 2 minutes, I'm like, this isn't the kid.
I
was trying to figure out what was going on for a second.
At least 10 minutes in that opening.
I think I almost appreciated it because first it didn't start out with the hero. It started off with the villain, and it starts building something that it's foreshadowing, right?
Right. Well, I think it's fine. I think the scene, everything they do. Oh, okay, let me phrase that. I think if you had cut the scene down just a few minutes, and part of it is. In that scene, at the end of the scene, when he's getting blamed for something, I thought something else happened, and then when that wasn't, I was like, well, that kind of ruins part of the...
Yeah.
But what I liked about it, though, it helped not make Billy's version of explaining how or why or what was going on and all that, because you already kind of know what's going on a little bit. So once he has his time in that, you're like, okay, well, I know these things and blah, 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 and this thing and whatever, it's all working out, because once he comes into that scene, which, the villain was in, you're like, oh, okay, so this is what's going to happen from here.
I just did not like the villain at the beginning. I was just like, this is going on too long. I have the same thing. I was like, this opening scene is like 3 to 5 minutes too long for me. Like,
if it had been just cut down to be like, without spoiling it,
that's the
if it
hard
was just
part.
it was much quicker, because you could do the motivation much faster. Be like,
you could, and so
But I mean, the movie's runtime isn't that long, so I imagine part of it was like,
Right.
let's keep all of it, because the movie's under 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So like,
I don't know. I
didn't
think
mind it
apart
too
from
much.
that, I really liked this film. I thought the sense of humor was
I
great.
love the humor.
And that's what DC
it's
has been
so
so
good.
serious with all their stuff.
Yeah.
And when you get finally something like that, which
Right.
I can't wait till he's like working with the Justice League or whatever they're going to do with them, you're going to have that little bit of a Flash kind of funniness, which I don't really like
His
the current
tone
Flash,
and
to be honest.
the genre of this film is so much different than what DC has been establishing since Man of Steel.
Yeah.
So it's nice to just have a definitive change of pace. Like Aquaman had some
And this
humor.
set, yeah.
Like
and-
all of them have had humor, but this movie is
but
like
think about
a comedy the whole
Aquaman
way
and
through.
Shazam, like just doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm excited for, because
Right.
Aquaman and Wonder Woman, they were good movies to me. And
We did say Aquaman was a 6. Let's remember that.
Huh?
We did say Aquaman was a 6.
I still think I did like Aquaman personality wise. That's
Yeah.
what I'm talking.
Okay, you said movie, so I was like, let's remember.
Yeah,
Let's
sorry.
remember what our score was.
It was a 9, right? No, not necessarily the movie as a
back upside
whole,
down.
but like the actual characters and stuff, Jason, and so I like that. The biggest issue I had with Shazam is you had that build up, and I'm trying not to ruin anything here, where he starts to get that courage back and stuff, and I felt like that happened over and over, and I love the struggle there.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's happened one too many times. Like that build up, and he's like, he falls down, he goes and then he yells Shazam or whatever, and you're like, okay, I love when he does that, but like, you've done that too many times in like such a small amount of time, because it was just an ongoing fight,
Yeah.
I didn't think it was cool though.
anything.
Every time he was like in action, he would go Shazam, transform back into kid.
No, I know.
Shazam.
I love
Yeah,
that.
but no,
when he goes under the legs and stuff like
yeah,
that.
but like there's moments I do agree where like it is very like,
and I won't
it feels more like
ruin anything, but in the carnival scene, when over and over, there's a few too many times. I'm like, okay, I'm like, maybe you just I don't know, but I get the power struggle, and the cool thing about it is it's showing a kid trying to learn something.
Yeah.
And I think he did a great job of showing that kid kind of mentality still, while like trying to transform into a hero and make hero decisions.
Yeah.
So I thought that was great acting. I thought how they told the story and the peak of it. The villain, a little bit. What's that guy's name?
Mark Strong.
Yes,
He's a good actor.
He's always been a good actor and everything, and he always plays the villain kind of mentality. Really
except
good
for
well.
Kingsman, where
Yes,
I loved him. I do agree.
Take
So
me home.
I do think he is a good actor.
That's my favorite part of the whole.
I do think he's a good actor, but I don't know if I love the villain. Isn't great. It's another. Here's the thing with the villain. The villain is too much like Black Adam. It needed to be something different.
I do agree with that.
Because what's the point of having him? Because you're just in a few movies going to have Black Adam show up.
Well,
and you're like, this
what
is just
I
like
love,
before.
and I'm trying not to spoil anything, but when they're on the rooftop and he realizes, oh, here's his weakness or whatever. And I kind of actually enjoy that part because there's like another element to that.
Yeah.
And you expose his
outsmarts
weakness.
him.
Yes, and he exposes something that, I mean, we all kind of knew that was kind of probably going to happen, maybe, if you're really thinking about the movie. But, like, how he does it, and he goes, wait, there's still one more thing.
Yeah.
And then when he's looking at him or whatever, and then, like, as Billy, as a kid's mind or whatever, like, trying to figure out that weakness or whatever, I thought that was actually really cool.
Yeah. Now, my big takeaways, well, I'll state my positives. I love Zachary Levi. I loved all the kids. The family is great. Like, I wish some of them were explored a little more. But, I mean, it's hard. You cannot do... It's
all
Billy's.
those kids.
At the end of the day, it's Billy's story.
Yep.
So they already give Freddy a lot of screen time and trying to do like the rest of the family.
And stuff,
it's hard to do that, and that's what I didn't want them to. That was my fear.
I think they really did a good job with at least the
Introducing
Darla
them.
and
The older sister.
which that was kind of. They really chip chopped with her a little bit,
Yeah,
but
like the other
you got
two,
a little bit, and then the other two.
There's not enough. Like two of them, there's two of them that basically get ignored. Like have a few throwaway lines and cool moments, but like one of them says like almost no dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like I'm
Until
fine with
the
it.
end. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just there.
I'm fine with it. It's just at the end of the day, I'm like, I wish there was more because like they are so close to Freddy. Maybe it's the neighbor's dog. But I think. Everything else I really liked about it. The villain wasn't great though. Like that would be one of my negatives.
That's the only real complaint I have.
And then the pacing at the beginning was a little slow. But like once you get him and Shazam, like it just flew by. Like the rest of it was like
once he gets his powers and everything.
Once they start playing around with it and he's like trying to figure things out.
What's awesome about it is the commercials are like did not ruin
they don't
all the funny parts.
Yeah.
Like of course they have like the gas station scene or whatever in there.
Yeah, which I mean like
but there's a lot more in the gas station scene that you see on there, and I thought I was really praying that was not one of the only funny scenes out of that when he's like learning his powers and stuff.
Yeah.
And there was a ton more in there, which made it a lot better in that because that's like your prime like humor right there.
Right,
so.
like they really let you just have fun with the idea of we don't know what your powers are.
Yeah, and they're trying to figure out. There's a lot of scenes which I won't ruin because I don't want to ruin anything.
Right, like the one, like there's one in the trailer where like he's on like a half pipe and he's trying to see if he can fly. Like that actually was still just as funny in the movie in context because of all the other like tests that they do for like to see what are your powers.
One other thing too is I like the struggle not because of the superhero side of it, but because it's the actual kid side of it, and his backpass is still reflecting through the whole thing. Which they do that. Most hero movies have like that, that interpersonal thing going on. But I felt like as a kid they did it really, really well where I could connect with that. We could probably all connect with that a little bit.
And I like that the villain wasn't dumb.
Exactly.
That was the only thing I will say about Mark Strong's character is I like that at the end of the day, like there's stuff that happens and he's just like, he like looks at the TV and he's like, okay, I know what to do now. And he's not like, man, what do I do? Blah blah blah.
Yeah, no, he's a really smart villain. That is one thing about him that I liked. But
this one's a little bit more like DC is a little bit more when like his first real scene of like doing a villainous kind of thing. You're like, holy crap. I was sitting next to a dad and a kid or whatever, and I was like thinking about that kid, and I'm like, this may be a little much for him.
Yeah, there was a few things in there that I was like, this is because it's from a horror director, so like anything that was like,
and I mean, you have that scene where they're up against the window or whatever, and that one guy's looking at that. I'm like, holy crap!
There's some horror elements
but
here.
I liked it because it showed like this guy's not messing around kind of thing, and you have somebody that's a lot stronger of a villain, which we were just talking about, but.
Yeah.
You realize that Billy's like, oh, this isn't like some like, and you have Freddy who's like supposedly this superhero expert or whatever.
Yeah.
Which I love that little sidekick kind of thing going on, which they reference that a lot. Mm-hmm. But anyways, I thought it was a little bit. There was definitely a couple scenes that were borderline, like where you're like, wow. I did not expect that from Shazam because it's still lighthearted for a little bit and then goes 0 to 100 for a second. Holy crap! And then it goes back and you're like, okay, here's a. You got your black and white right here, and it really defines where that villain is. Where some of these storylines, you almost feel bad for the villain a little bit.
And that's a good villain. Any villain that you can sympathize with. Well, there's two kinds of villains.
Yeah.
There's the straight evil one that you just like watching them, like Joker. But then there's like ones that you sympathize with, Thanos and Killmonger.
Well, you can even sympathize with him too because he didn't get that.
Yeah,
at the very beginning.
I get that too to an extent, but some of it is like Zach had a problem with that. He was like,
I was like, this is like evil mustache twirling guy. Like
he's just a guy in my opinion.
But he's thinking about his childhood though, and this is the same thing that Billy was going through.
I get
it's
that.
a mirror.
At present time.
It's super similar, and they even point that out in the movie, like towards the end.
Every superhero has a very similar villain story to it.
Which is why it made sense for this to be the villain in the movie. Mm-hmm. But for me, I was just like, it's almost too on the nose, like with the almost cliche with like the villain's origin compared to Billy's, I guess.
Yeah.
Which was my thing. I was like, some point, like.
And I mean, if we look at most origin superhero movies, there's so many cliche things.
Yeah, and it's like at the end of the day, it's a comic book movie, so I'm gonna let that go.
Yeah.
I was just like, okay, sure.
I've had to learn to like just those little cliche things, you just kind of have to let them go with some of these because they have to follow a certain comic. You have to realize comics are just so cliche in general.
Well, right,
yeah.
and
They're well, yeah, they're I mean, yeah.
And I get that, and I'm fine with that. It's just there's sometimes I'm like, I would like a little different.
Yeah, I'd like something to go in a little bit of a different direction. And for the most part, this movie did. I think this movie is a step in the right direction overall for DC.
But I felt that with Wonder Woman, and then I got Justice League. So just for the record, that every
So what you're saying is every once in a while we get a good one, and then we get like 2 to 3 crappy ones.
And the hard part is Justice League. I don't think they had the right approach to it.
No, I think it was just rushed. But I'm just saying, don't every time I'm like, this is a step in the right direction, I get burned.
Oh yeah, don't get your hopes up. But I mean, I think you have enough quality of characters, and actors. Whatever happens with Ben Affleck is whatever.
He's gone.
Oh, he's gone.
Well, yeah.
But so let's wrap up Shazam. Give final thoughts. I love it. I didn't talk a whole lot during this because this is Ryan adores this film.
Yeah, I really like it.
And so I wanted to let him have it, but I love the movie. It's cheesy, it's fun. I'm a big fan of Shazam in the comics. Mm-hmm. The New 52 Shazam isn't one I love as much, which that's what, unfortunately, this one is inspired from. But this movie is a giant cheese fest. If you're not going to be okay with that, you're probably not going to like it. So just remember that going in. Overall, I do enjoy the film. It is a strong recommendation for me. It's a solid 8 out of 10. I like it a lot. Mm-hmm. It's my favorite DCEU film. Superhero-wise, I don't know where I'd put it in my top, if I'd put it in a top 10 of all time superhero movies, but I do really like the film. I do strongly recommend it. I recommend you just sit back, enjoy the film. Mm-hmm. It's not a turn off your brain, but it is a sit there and, hey, let's just enjoy this movie. Let's just have fun. Let's just take our time and think, what would I, as a 14-year-old kid, be like as a superhero? Mm-hmm. And just enjoy that. Yeah. This movie isn't meant to win Oscars. It's not meant to be like that groundbreaking one, but it's meant to have fun. So just overall, I love it. But I'll let you guys talk now.
I agree. I think that if you were to give this movie a score, I would say an 8 out of 10. It's really solid, especially for a company that, in a lot of ways, I lost faith in a long time ago. Because I've always thought that DC's characters are very well written in their source material. They just have trouble adapting that. This was the first time where I felt like they did really well with everything going on. Sorry, we heard something, but I just really liked the movie. I think that everything with Zachary Levi is really good. This is going to sound weird, but he captures being a 14-year-old kid really, really well. You can see the Billy in the Shazam character. Yeah. When he does certain things, which I really liked because I was like, sure, just because he turns into Shazam doesn't mean that he's going to fully be this other character / person. I really enjoyed seeing him in his superhero get up, essentially, still being a kid. Yeah. That's the best part of the movie for me. I'm like, they really made me care about both sides of this character, and they both interact in a weird way. You see Billy grow by the end of the movie. Yeah. But you also see the childish side of, Zachary Levi's side of the character, which was what I was hoping they captured the best, and I thought they did really well with that. I thought that all the kids were great, like we already said. I pretty much agree with everything Brandon said about the film. I would give it an 8.
I would like to add the costume is phenomenal. It's a perfect. DC is getting it done right with the perfect comic accurate costumes.
So, I probably liked it a little bit more than Zach and Brandon, but this is one of my favorite superhero, at least origin films. I could probably make a good debate. It's one of my favorite just general superhero films. Definitely one of my favorite DC films by far. Mm-hmm. One of the best things about this is that it gives me a little bit of hope in DC because we always go up and down with DC right now, and that's what we were just talking about. This film gave me a lot more encouragement that, hey, they have something. I don't know if their whole game plan for the whole universe is great. Hopefully this is a better Kickstarter, but at least gets me more of hey, if they have another Justice League type movie and Shazam's in it, at least I know that Zachary Levi is going to be playing that character, hopefully. And they don't mess that one up. And I've got, there's going to be a little bit more better chemistry maybe on set, hopefully, because he seems like a pretty laid-back guy. With that, I think Shazam is a really, really fun type film. Kind of like what Brandon was saying. It's not that serious with DC compared to other DC films, where it's just more of that. And they got rid of the slow motion stuff.
Except for one shot.
One shot.
And that moment, I did audibly in the theater go,
Yep, and I instantly thought about that, but it wasn't.
It wasn't over.
It wasn't crazy. I wouldn't have put it in there, but they did it.
I did forget about that.
I was praying that it wasn't going to continue to do that, and they didn't. So that's your one spoiler, I guess, is that when you do see that, I don't think there's anything else slow motion wise.
There wasn't. There was just the one.
Yeah, I think that was it. But it definitely. I mean, instantly. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh crap! They're about to go through this whole action thing with that. Thankfully, they didn't do that. There wasn't a lot of music, which, if you guys noticed, there wasn't a lot of during the action scenes, there wasn't a lot of. It wasn't filmed like how the other DC films were in the action scenes. I don't think on some of the action.
Well, yeah.
If you think, I don't know.
I'd have to watch it again.
Yeah. I didn't get that vibe of another. Honestly, if you told me if Marvel or DC filmed this one, I don't know if I would be able to tell you very well on if you just had no idea who filmed it. I don't know who did it. I couldn't tell you if Marvel or DC did it just because it looked so different from the regular DC how they shot it, in my opinion. And that can be something we can debate about some other time. But with that, I've been debating on an 8.5 to 9. I'm going to go with 9 right now. I always don't like to give that solid score until I watch it again, because I definitely think rewatchability is a huge factor.
Mm-hmm. I do think this is rewatchable.
I definitely think it's rewatchable, but I like to rewatch it again and see how it plays out, because I'm more anticipating things. Now that I already know, I like to rewatch it and see how that plays out. And more of okay, I already know what's going to happen. Let's see if this is just an enjoyable movie without me trying to guess, because that's a big factor for me. Yeah. So I'm going to put it at 9 right now. It could drop down to 8.5, maybe if I just if I see a few more errors with it. But I just think it's a fun film. If like I said, if you don't like Captain Marvel that much, I think you're going to like Shazam a little bit better, in my opinion, just on how it's paced and stuff, perhaps. This, like I said, all the actors were really done well. I think the very end is just a unique way of ending something. I can't spoil anything, but there's a lot of interesting things that kind of goes with it. And just if you think about comic books, I feel like this is a very good comic book adaptation of a character. Just straight off if you just read a comic book and you look at it, I feel like they did really well with it. Like I said, I already kind of said what my negatives were, but if you guys are kind of on the fence with seeing it, I would highly suggest you go see it. I think it's just a good film, and I can't wait to watch it again. I just have to wait 2 more weeks to see it again, so that sucks.
That is the problem.
That is the problem, because I was thinking about, I'm like, I'll just go see. Oh wait, we saw it way too early.
I still haven't seen Lego Movie 2 again. Like I said, I would, and I don't even know if it's in theaters anymore.
I don't think it is.
I don't know. There are 2 after credit scenes for Shazam, so make sure you see them both.
Yes.
Yes, there's one at the very, very end.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you have to wait for that one.
Okay, so that wraps up Shazam.
Mm-hmm.
So, we saw the movie Us, which for those, I'll quickly go. This is Jordan Peele's
second movie
film
that he's directed.
And I've seen it twice. Zach has seen it once. So, I want to start out by saying the first time I viewed this movie, I did not like it. I liked a lot of it, but I didn't like some of it. Second viewing, I don't know if I'm just more lenient, or if I actually did really, really like it. I do think it is a good movie. Like, I'm going to start out by saying I do think it's a good movie. I think it's well acted.
Oh yeah.
Is it Winston Duke?
Winston Duke
And oh my gosh,
Lupita Nyong'o. I know I just
Nyong'o's right. I don't know the first part.
I just butchered her first name, but Lupita Nyong'o. We'll just go with that.
We're gonna say Nyong'o.
What?
Just the last part.
Okay. Yeah. They both do a phenomenal job.
Yeah,
in this movie.
especially her, because all of them have to act as 2 characters. Remember, no. Yeah. Let's say second act. No second act spoilers.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of things that happen that I think that there's because there's things I could say like we'll talk about. We're gonna do a spoiler talk because I have to talk about a few things. But for our peer review, the movie overall is a psychological thriller that has you questioning a lot of things, has you wondering about a lot of things. And overall, I do genuinely like the movie. I think the acting is great. The kids are really good too.
There's not a single person in the movie that I think does a bad job.
Right. I think Jordan Peele knows exactly what he needs, what he wants out of his actors, and he gets that.
Yeah.
I don't think his actors hold back with him. I think he's able to get 110% from everyone.
Yeah.
My negative... so I do like the setting. Like, the story's very original.
Yeah.
It feels like an episode of The Twilight Zone.
It does.
Which gives me a lot of hope for his Twilight Zone series.
Twilight Zone, yeah. I got the same feel. I was like, this could be an episode of The Twilight Zone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and for all I know, maybe his movies will be adapted into The Twilight Zone. I don't know. I doubt it. but like, I love the beginning part of the movie a lot. Where
the opening 10 minutes is really good.
The opening 10 minutes is really good.
It sets the tone, gives you a nice chill. Right. Everything that happens is shot really well.
Mm-hmm. The movie in general is shot beautifully well. Jordan Peele as a director just has these little things that, like, after you're done watching the movie, even like the smallest thing will start to make sense. Like, not getting into spoilers, but even like the color red, for example, like all of the doppelgangers are wearing red. In the trailer, like, and even at the beginning of the movie, like, the color red is a recurring thing that you see, and it's like, okay, well, that obviously means something, like, and then just being that there's other people, obviously there's stuff going on there, like, I don't want to get into super big spoilery stuff yet.
So let's the problem is this part's going to be very quick, because the movie overall, to really talk about it, you have to spoil a lot of it.
Right, because everything in the movie all ties back into one key moment.
Well, yeah. So here's what we're going to say. So let's do this. Would you recommend people watch it, score, and any highlights you want to talk about?
I would recommend that people watch it for sure. If I had to give it a score out of 10, I would say probably 7 or 7.5.
Okay, so we're not.
Somewhere in that range. Honestly, if the trailer doesn't hook you alone, I would say you need to go and see the scene where they first meet the doppelgangers for the first time, because that was incredible. Yeah. I was like, there's this moment where they meet their other selves for the first time, and they don't really... I don't know if this is a spoiler.
If you think it's a spoiler, don't say it.
But like, it's just like, they build that tension up so well, and like in the trailer, the mom is like, get your shoes on, like, we've got to go, like, something's wrong, and like, you get that feeling from the first second you see the family in the movie, like their doppelganger family. Like, as soon as you see them, you're like, nope, this is wrong, we got to get out of here. Like, and you're thinking that, but at the same time, like, the movie in a weird way almost has a sense of humor about it as well, with Winston Duke.
Yeah, there's some
breaks that I'm just like, this shouldn't be here in a weird way. But I get that you want to have some moment of relief where you're not constantly feeling like you're being terrorized watching a film. Yeah. Especially when it's one as psychological as this one. Because otherwise your mind's just going to be thinking about every single little thing that's like on screen. So like, they do a good job with making you care about this family from the very beginning. And even the side characters are interesting. Like, I want to know more about their neighbors that they have.
Yeah, I don't remember their names, but yeah.
But like, all of the characters in the movie are well acted, so it's not like, oh, well, I want you to die in this movie. Like, which, whenever you see a movie like that's essentially a horror film, it's not really a horror film, which was my main reason for not wanting to go see it, but then I was talked into seeing it. So if you're on the fence about that, as a guy who does not normally watch horror films, go see Us, because it's very interesting. You will think a lot about what you're looking at. You won't know what you're looking at until after you're done watching the movie, and then you're still going to want to look things up.
And this makes me want to see it, even though I hate scary movies.
It's not scary.
So
that's the problem. And so
can I do like a double jinx on you guys?
Okay.
Okay, cool.
So my quick thoughts of just the Peer movie. It's incredibly well acted. Like, oh my gosh. The psychological part of it is good, but I'll talk about it later in my spoiler because I have a lot of thoughts. I've thought about this movie a lot. The acting's well. The moments where you're supposed to be tense, seeing in a theater, for me, our first viewing, I wasn't super tense, but just the reaction the audience gives, like our showing last night, people were like flipping out.
People were really into it.
And so that's what I love about
there was a girl that was sitting next to me who like kept freaking out anytime something happened. And I was like, okay, look, it's only 10 minutes into the movie. We haven't even gotten to that point yet. Like,
but overall, I would say there's a lot that I do like about the film. It has very, very strong first two acts. I love the acting. My biggest complaints are I feel like the humor, there's too much of it.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm fine with it, and it is a coping mechanism. Like, I would use... honestly, that's the thing, is I think I would be like that in that situation.
Maybe.
But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. And so, to me, some of it just feels a little off.
I feel like I'd probably just kill myself. I'd be like, oh, there's one that could take my place. I'm like, we were supposed to do that.
But overall, though, I do think it's worth your watch. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as Get Out.
No.
I think Get Out is a 10 out of 10. If I had to hold a standard for what I think all horror movies should live up to, or psychological thrillers, or Jordan Peele himself, I think Get Out is like a perfect film. I think this is a 7.5. I do like it a lot, and it could have been a 9. There's a lot of things I would change. I just want that to be clear. Even if I love this movie, I still don't think it would have been a 10. There's just a few things that I wish had been differently. But a 7.5, I feel like that's worthy of the movie. So overall, thank you for listening. We will have a spoiler talk. Just give me 1 second, people. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. You can catch us on Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, Apple Podcast, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Follow Zach on Twitch at Jittery Jackanape.
Yeah, thanks.
Remember, if you have Twitch Prime, if you have Amazon Prime, you have Twitch Prime. So remember to subscribe and link those together.
We will be doing a giveaway starting tomorrow, and for 1 week, for every share, if you share our post, like it, I will be giving something away on the next show. It'll be a surprise until tomorrow.
It's going to be Ryan's leftover Little Caesars.
So, I won't lie, I didn't even know this giveaway was happening.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Can I participate in said giveaway?
Surprise.
No, it's definitely favoritism.
But no, we will actually, I will take everybody's names down and we will draw it on the show next Sunday. So, just giving you guys a heads up, I will post more information tomorrow.
Okay, and so we will... Okay. We should also make sure to share it on Twitter.
Yes.
Part of this should be a like or a follow and retweet.
Yeah, as long as you guys are following us on one of these platforms that you share it on, I'm completely okay with that.
Yeah.
Just make sure that you are sharing our post. If you share it and you like it, we're just trying to spread the word, and this helps us. And you guys will get to have a chance at a super awesome prize. So just letting you know. And there may be multiple.
Is it a pair of MeUndies?
It could be Brandon's undies, but
No, I said MeUndies. The website. Please sponsor us, MeUndies.
And Brandon's undies.
Okay.
We'll add that
Anyway.
Surprise, Rollins. What?
Thank you for this episode of Nothing Coherent. We kind of rambled just there for the last 30 seconds, but we're gonna.
Isn't that what we do? Like
every
whole-
episode.
That's
the
what we
entire
do.
episode.
But this was where it got really weird.